Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Mary J Hart here, and in this video I will be sharing with you how to turn this into this, right? So keep watching. What you need first is to clean up your bottles. You wash them, you clean them up, right? And then you get your wood gum, of course your bottles, and your fabrics, pieces of waste fabrics, of course. Now you'd need a tissue roll, cardboard, which you'd flatten. You need your pieces cut out, your fabrics cut out into pieces like that, and you need a pair of scissors, right? So you cut the cardboard because that's what you'll be using to scoop your wood gum and apply on your bottle at the end of the day. Yeah, so basically of course you want to clean your scissors out so that your wood gum doesn't stick on it. And so you start applying your wood gum thinly, finely. Now I'm leaving out some space because at the end of the day I want to have artwork on those spaces. You'd see, just like, okay, you must have seen it well in the intro, so I'd like to put in some artworks. That's why I'm leaving out some space. But if you don't have anything you want to place on those spaces, then it's better to just cover it all up. Now you want to do this section by section or segment by segment so that you don't get it all messy. You don't want your hands messy, you don't want your place messy, and so you just keep doing it little by little. Now for this I'm using Ankara, the Nigerian Ankara. It's a signature piece of fabric here in Nigeria, and I'm using another type of material that is non-native, right? And I am mixing both because I just want to experiment to see what it's like to have different pieces of fabric, that are not alike, right? For this I'm going to be using mainly Ankara, but different pieces of Ankara. Now this is a piece of heart, and I always say in heart there are no rules. Like, you make your own rules, you just do whatever you find interesting. Like, there are no limits. You just imagine it, you get creative, you get innovative. And so I have different patterns, I have different fabrics of Ankara, and I'm just mixing them together. Now I'm using colors that are a little alike for this, but you can always use different types of colors. Like I said, you make the rules. You are the craft person, you are the artist, so whatever you do, it goes. You are the ruler here, you are the boss of your own craft. And so now I'd like to note here that the type of fabric you choose to use matter, right? There are some fabrics that stick better, like this, like Ankara in general sticks better than any other fabric. And I know this because I experimented a lot with different types of fabrics. For the first one I did, the other material I added, the blue one, the sky blue material, wasn't a sticky type. Like, it took a while before it gummed to the bottle, so it gave me a little of a tough time, yeah. But there are some materials that we just stick in generally, like this. This didn't give me so much trouble. I didn't even spend so much time on it. I mean, I just kept going and going and going. So basically you just want to do whatever works for you, right? And there are just some materials that might eventually not stand out right. Now at the end of the day, you want to keep leaving out space, right, for some parts to dry before you proceed, especially when you want to do the top and the bottom part. You might want to wait for the middle part to get dried so that you don't shift your fabrics, so that your fabrics don't move. You don't want to have them rough at the end of the day. So like I've set aside a particular bottle for the sides to dry. Now I'm still able to continue with this because I'm not really touching the parts that I have layered. In cases where you'd have to touch, especially when you want to do the bottom part, it's best that you leave your bottle to dry, for the fabrics to dry on it first before you proceed, right? Basically, but this material didn't give me issues. This particular Ankara, it just kept sticking to the bottle, so I didn't even really have cause to weed it out, but I eventually had to weed it out before doing the bottom part. For the head, at times you might need to also use hot glue. For some materials that would not stand well, you'd see in the course of this video, because I used adire. That's another native Nigerian material, a tie and dye material, right? And it wasn't really sticking well, so at the end of the day I had to use hot glue off camera. But I'm telling you, because there are some materials like that you might need to use hot glue, not for every aspect, just for parts that are not sticking well to the bottle, right? So you can see, so I've set that aside, and I'm doing the bottom part of this because this has dried, and I can hold it around the middle where I had earlier lined or layered without shifting the fabrics because it has dried, right? And I'm doing the bottom part now. So you just follow what I'm doing and you'd see that it's easy peasy, right? It's just fun, right? Rather than having wastes lying around, you don't know what to do with your bottles. This could pass for a tabletop decor, a shelf decor, or even a souvenir. Whatever you want to do with it is up to you, but definitely this transforms waste to wealth. Okay, definitely, because you can definitely make money from this, just doing this, selling your craft and all of that. So this particular material, like I said earlier, wasn't really sticking, like the normal Ankara would do, or any other material that isn't so thick. This material is thick, and that's why it wasn't sticking well, but I used it anyway because I do not like anything stopping me, right? I love the material and I wanted to have it as part of my collection, as part of my craft, and I wasn't going to let the material itself stop me. Okay, so I did it anyway. I used it anyway.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before the new. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed.
For your tissue roll cardboard, I forgot to mention it earlier, you can wrap it round with seal tape. It will save you some of much of your gum rather than using it directly like I did in the beginning part of this video. But later on I had to wrap it with seal tape to save my gum, right? So wrapping round with seal tape will definitely save you much of your gum than using it directly like that. And so I'm doing the underneath of this too, having left it for a while to dry while working on another bottle, right, as you can see. And like I said, I left out that space because I wanted to have some piece of artwork placed there. But if you don't have anything, no sticker, no artwork, nothing, then it's best to just have your fabrics all around, don't leave space, just do it all round. Now for this bottom part, there are two methods that can be used. This might be a lot trickier than the one I'd show you later on in this video. However, it saves your fabrics, right? It saves you much more of your fabrics than the next method that I'd be sharing with you. So this saves you your fabrics. The next method, you'd have to use more fabric, right? However, both are okay. The second one is a lot easier than this because, well, you'd see. So when you're done, you might not want to place it directly down. You might just want to place it on the side, but if you are confident in the material to stick well, then you might place it like that. So this is the adire, right? And that's Ankara. So I wanted to try out another material for this. I wanted to try out adire rather than using Ankara. Like I said, there are no limits to how much you can experiment with different fabrics. So you just keep trying it out. But there are some materials that you would have known that they weren't gonna work. So rather than wasting your glue, you just move on to find the ones that you feel would work, right? And so, yeah, basically, I tried out the adire and I loved how it turned out at the end of the day, which you'd see, of course. So basically, I used adire completely for this. There were some, like the one I did before this, that I used Ankara completely. But there will also be another where I'd be mixing adire with Ankara. Now, this would never happen in real life. You don't mix adire with Ankara to sew clothes or whatever. But this is hard work. This is a piece of art, and I decide the rules, right? I wanted to have both, which would naturally not happen. But in art, everything is possible. There are no limits to what you can do. So, but for this year, I just chose to use adire alone. So you can choose to mix the adire, the patterns or whatever, or you can just use the same thing. Okay, it's all up to you. So you can see Ankara adire. So for this, I'll be using, so this still had some cherries in it, right, from the wine, but I could not get them out because the top was, sealed, very much sealed. But I couldn't bother with it because I knew that I'd be covering it all up with my fabric, so I couldn't bother. So for this, I used the same piece of Ankara all through. So it depends on what you want to do, right? Sometimes you can choose to mix your fabric, the Ankara fabrics. At other times, you can choose to use the same thing. It's all up to you. You make the rules. Also, you want to move very fast so that your glue doesn't dry up before you are done layering. Okay, this is done. You can see the adire with different patterns. This Ankara, same type. This Ankara with a non-native material. And then this Ankara with different types, like different types of Ankara, different types, different colors, different patterns. I wanted it to be colorful. So this is another method with which you can do the bottom part. So for this, you want to have a longer like you want to cut your pieces to be longer than the usual, so you just keep placing it just like I did in this video. You keep placing it round, but you can see these fabrics are longer, right, than I've been cutting previous fabrics. This is more of like in a rectangular form than in the squared form that I've been doing prior to now. And you just open it up and you had your wood gum on the glass, right? And all you just have to do is to keep layering. Like I said, this will waste fabrics because even before I was done layering, I had covered up the bottom part, right? And I still had to now start, add gum to make sure that they all stayed down, and if I didn't do this method, I wouldn't have used this much fabric. So this wastes your fabrics, but this is a lot quicker and it's simpler, right? I guess. Okay, so for the upper part of that, I am mixing it with adire. So I'm using adire for the upper part and ankara for the below part. Now this, like I said, would never happen in real life, but this is a piece of art and I make my rules. So I'd eventually had more of the adire to ensure that they both meet each other halfway, right? And you'd see at the very end, I think I did that off camera, so yeah, but basically you can always have something like this where you mix ankara with adire, but mind you, this can never happen in real life. Okay, you can't mix adire with ankara in real life. Or what am I even saying in real life? I mean, you can't mix it as a sort of clothing. You can't wear such combo. You can't wear such combination. So like I said, there are some materials that will not stick. You can see this adire didn't really stick, especially at the topmost part, and so for this you'd need hot glue. I did that off camera, but you don't use it immediately. Like I let the wood gum dry on it first, and then I just added some hot glue to the parts that weren't sticking well to the bottle. It really isn't any sort of big deal, just to have some sort of a finer look, so that your work looks finer, not rough. And if at the end of the day you are having strands from the fabrics, there is no need to panic. You just need to trim at the end of the day, like you trim a cloth or whatever. You need to just trim out. If you have strands of thread at the end of the day, you just need to trim them out, right? And there is no big deal about that, really. Those are it, you have them all there, and this how it looks at the end, at the end of the day. Now all that is left at this point is to add my artworks, right, to all the spaces that I had left. And you can see the materials are sitting pretty, they are sitting well on the bottle. They are fully dried at this point. All fully dried.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way.
So here are my artworks, drawn by me, of course, and each of these artworks are passing a message, right? And that's the fact that the world is in our hands, the world is in your hands, and what you do with it matters. With your creativity, of course, you have the creative mind to think and to make something out of nothing, so that we can create a circular economy free from wastes. So this is more of a campaign for environmental conservation, and you can see how it eventually stood on the bottles at the end of the day, making it look more beautiful, and of course passing a message across, right? Like I said, the world is in your hands. What you do with it matters. This transforms wastes, to wealth. You are literally transforming nothing to something. But what? With your creative mindset. So thank you for watching. It's Mary J Hats, and keep watching this space. Stick to this space because there is so much more that we'll do when it has to do with artworks, with creative minds, with innovations, with creativity. There are just so much more, from makeup artistry to drawings to crafts to handcrafts. Just stick right here with me. Thank you for watching, and bye.
I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do